Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. So I hope everyone's doing well, and you've seen that I posted that Proverbs one. It was a bit deep. When I woke up this morning I felt so nervous, and it wasn't my energy, it was somebody else. Obviously there's a lot going on and I try and channel it and get grounded and stuff. So I thought I'd lighten the load a little bit on this one. Well, I say lighten the load, I don't know if it is a lighten the load or not, but what I wanted to focus on, I did channel a song, and I think it sort of relates back to the stolen opportunity, but also the lady that comes through. I'm saying it was a lady, but it could have been a man in feminine energy. But anyway, it came through. Excuse me, get me brew. So the songs that came through were sort of giving me an idea of their relationship as well. And so what I want to do on this one is sort of make it around the dating game, because I think, you know, if people are in the world and dating and stuff, it's completely different to how it used to be years ago. And I think on a previous one I said it's like a sweet shop, but how anyone can sort of solidify any type of relationship when there's just so much choice on offer, and when you're speaking to one person there's somebody else or 10 other people in the background. So I think that's what this is about, and I think also what people need to be mindful of. Let me take a slug of my tea. I think what people need to be mindful of as well, is it a relationship or is it a situationship? And a lot of relationships these days are built on trauma bonding. And obviously with my teaching and working with people who are either looking for relationships or struggling to get in a relationship, these are the things that, you know, seem to pop up. So I thought it'd be good to put it on YouTube, because I think, you know, I don't necessarily think it's necessarily a spiritual thing. I think it's just a universal thing. But obviously when you've got a little bit of faith and stuff, it's about how do you identify what's right for you and what's not right for you. And then you'll hear me talk a lot about discernment, intuition, and also the people that are fake, that have masks, but actually when the mask drops it's not really what it was. So if you go back to the contract stuff, you know, I said that everything I do is sort of it's got some meaning to it. If you go back to the contract stuff, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, a relationship is a contract of sorts, but do you know what you're getting? And I sense in this world that we tend to go into things, but we don't actually clarify what it is before we get into it. And then all of a sudden you're in something that you thought was what you thought it was, and the other person thinks it's something else, and then before you know it, it's not actually anything that you thought it was, i.e. the relationships, the situationships, and then obviously the trauma bonding. And obviously trauma bonding is about, you know, your wounds, their wounds, and then you get together on those. But technically really you should heal that before. There's healing together, but then there's also healing separately. And obviously I said I would do a separate piece on that, because obviously when you awaken you heal all those parts that people try and attach cords to try and keep you emotionally stuck, if that makes one for a better word. So the other thing that I want to show you as well is I said just on previous one that I channeled some stuff very early on as I was awakening, and I channeled some messages, and as I was just pulling them out, I'm not going to do them all because there's just loads, but a couple of cards fell out and I just want to share those with you as well, so it'll give you an idea of my story. Now I wrote those in 2021, 22 maybe, I'm not quite sure, but we'll have a look anyway. But so yeah, so what I wanted to do today was like the dating game. So the song that came through, and I do believe it's related to some of the other ones that I've posted, was Teddy Swim, The Door, right? So I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to read some of the words from the song. I won't play it, but I'll read some of it, but I'd suggest that you listen to it if you're interested. So and then I'll give a bit of an overview of the song and what the song is saying in relation to what I think I channeled in terms of the relationship and the missed opportunity. And obviously the one where it talks about God's wrath and judgment. I know it's a bit of a heavy script, and it is, and it probably doesn't really refer to how we live our lives today, but I think what the script was saying was that what they sold, what they got themselves into was exactly what that script was saying, and the stolen opportunity was what they were sold was not actually what they thought it was, and it goes back to the script. And then if you look at another one, I talk about the warlock, the witch, the hive, the honey pot, and all that, and I think it's a little bit related to all that. And obviously I'll do a separate one on that as well. So anyway, this is the first verse, and I'll do a bit of the chorus. The doors. I took a page out of your favourite book. You sold me lies just by the way you look. Taught me a language that I'd never speak. Baby, that ain't for me. That ain't for me. I dug my grave watching the way you move. You took me higher than I ever flew. Ooh, too many times. Gave you a second chance, baby. I'm just a man. I'm just a man. No more thinking about you late night. Right, so I'm going to skip that bit and then I'm going to go to this bit. You never thought this day would ever come, but I looked you in the eyes and pulled the rug. You tried to take away my sanity, baby, that ain't for me. So, I'd suggest that you have a look at that song because it's quite powerful really in what it actually means, and I've done a bit of research on it to understand what it actually means. But when I go back to situationships and relationships, a lot of people do not have the conversation, and I think in one of my early ones I said, you know, I'm waiting for my kingdom space. If he turns up in this lifetime, great. If he doesn't turn up until I'm in the 5D, that's fine by me too. But as I want to be the one in a million, I want to be the one, and I want to be the million, not the one of a million. Sorry, anyway. So the situations. So a lot of people these days don't really have a conversation about what they're actually in. So they either end up in something because it's high, it's high adrenaline. You may be connected through addictions, you know, trauma bonding and stuff like that. So there might be some commonality there, so that you just go on the high of that and you don't really actually look at the relationship and actually define what it actually is. So then when you come off your high, you're looking around thinking, well, what are we and who are we and what's all this about? But by then you've probably gone into something more that builds relationships but actually doesn't create one, if that makes sense. So the situationship, let's talk a little bit about, let's talk about the song first and then I'll explain the situationships. So I think we can gather that the actual relationship he's in, although it took him high, it tried to take away his sanity as well. So I think that's the point that I was making, that they connected through some sort of trauma or addiction or whatever it was, and some high octane, but it nearly destroyed both of them. Because it was a desire to break free from the toxic influence of another person, place, to detach from all the pain and confusion. You have to question, obviously we don't know the answer, but we have to question, was there a deep love or lust, but an inability to keep enduring the game and obviously prolonging the pain? Are they expressing any fear of losing each other because obviously they're so entrapped in this void, and not recognising that it's actually a toxic relationship and therefore karmic relationship, which means it's about lessons, it's not a blessing. So therefore you learn the lessons and you get out. And obviously he talks about, insanity, he's had to shut the door, he's had to get out to save his sanity, really. So therefore it says, choose their own mental and emotional health and well-being, to understand the emotional destruction that can leave us if we stay in something that's not healthy. Because he actually talks about, and he says in the lyrics, I thought it would kill me. Now, they gain strength to seize control of their own lives, rejecting the manipulation and attempts to undermine their stability, where he says, you tried to take away my sanity. Now, a lot of people, and I think we've all been there, a lot of people end up in these relationships and they're quite toxic, and they can be quite destructive, and they can be quite abusive, and we don't realise it until we're right in the rabbit hole, and then it's trying to get out of the rabbit hole. So the point of this is to sort of say, it's important to have the conversation up front. And even if you're one in a few people that they're dating, better to back out and know that you're not an option, rather than be an option and never actually attaining anything and wasting so much time waiting. Because it is about the empowerment of self at the end of the day, you know, and I say this at the very beginning, love thyself first. If you love yourself, it doesn't matter what somebody else is going to do. You know, love yourself first, because you come in the world on your own and you go out on your own, unless you're a twin, and even then you don't necessarily leave together, do you? So, and I think as well, it's also about insanity of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Albert Einstein, I never say that right. But taking control and accountability and responsibility to leave a karmic relationship when you know it's not fulfilling. And I think if you look at one of the other ones where I talk about karma and, you know, the battles that we have and the indecision and all that, that's when you know it's karma, because it's pressing on your soul. It's pressing on your soul, and it's not where you want to be, or it's not fulfilling the soul. It might be fulfilling the external things, but it's not fulfilling the internal, the soul. I mean, you might get the gratification of the other things, obviously, but in terms of the soul, it's not fulfilling it. You know, is it love, lust, or is it just an obsession, or is it just coercive control? Because obviously that's the world we tend to live in as well, don't we? But it's about identifying that, and that's why discernment and intuition is so important, because you've got to be able to see it to know that actually this ain't for me. This ain't for me, and I don't want to carry on. But a lot of people get so far in that they're scared to say they don't want to be with somebody else, because they might not meet somebody else. But I think that's where it comes back to self-love, isn't it? If you love yourself and you can do stuff on your own or whatever, then you don't need to worry about whether it's going to work or not, because you grow together. You shouldn't be fighting and battling each other, and there should be more growth and transformation and other things that create the relationship outside of just a toxic bond. So, situationship. Sometimes there's no clarity or defined label. Can include affection and sexual behaviour and spending time together, but it sends the illusion it's a relationship, but the commitment level is low. Now, I think, you know, if everyone was honest with themselves, they probably would say, yeah, you know, I've been in relationships like that where I don't see them for days and then all of a sudden they pop up and I'm totally available. That for me says you've got a bit of healing to do, because no one should be anyone's beck and call. Certainly, if the breadcrumbing you, why? And that's no, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that, you know, it's something that you probably need to look at. So it's classified as a form of relationship without commitment, and Dr. Ranoff, PSYD, is a clinical psychologist and professional, says that some people don't recognise it's not a relationship of any substance. Breadcrumbing. Why? Because too much choice can distort of plenty. Why commit if you can spread yourself around everyone, giving people the benefit of experiencing a sense of relationship but actually being single at the same time? I think that pretty much is quite poignant, isn't it? So it's undefined, no actual label, no discussion to confirm what it is and what it isn't. So when people blow up and there's like all these fights and things like that, it's probably because no one's really discussed what they are. And so, you know, under the influence of alcohol or whatever, addictions and stuff like that, it just becomes really intense when you know it's karmic and you know it's toxic. There's no consistency or real priority on each other when you communicate, see each other next, whether they respond to a text or emails, or whether they make an effort to reach out to you consistently or show any interest in you, or reciprocity, reciprocate basically, and no future planning, short or long term. Superficial connection. Time may be spent together and intimate connection, but there is no depth or deep emotional connection developed. Superficial conversations with limited interest in your life. It's a convenience. Neither person prioritising each other to go out of their way to see each other. Instead, it's a spur of the moment pop-up of plans. So in other words, it's sort of saying that situationships are not really in a relationship. But a lot of people think they are because they accept the breadcrumb. And that's not a criticism, because I just, like I say, the world is a sweet shop, isn't it? There's so many choices. People don't make a decision. But for me, and I think one of the readers on here, she puts indecision is a decision, and I agree with that. If you can't, no one's an option, and no one should be an option. And if you can't make a decision, then that's the decision that's been made. And, go with that, because that's, what do they say? People show you who they are, believe them. I can't remember who quoted that, but I'll put it in there. I think Oprah Winfrey said it, but I think it came before her. But it's true, and, and that's where I think the whole dating thing has got a bit muddled a little bit along the way. But I personally think on a spiritual level, it's spirit first, and if you don't feel right, don't feel bad for just walking away, and self-preservation, because remember what I said in the very early one, rejection is your protection, and you can only get the protection if you do your work as well, and that's walking away. No one's anyone's choice, and no one's anyone's option. If there's multiple options, then let them have the options, because you remove yourself from all the drama and karma as well. Because what you've got to remember as well is some people carry a lot of karma, and if they multiple date a lot of people, they pick up their karma. So what you don't want is to be attracting their karma, because that's how karma works, and unless you clear it, you're still sitting in it. So, and then obviously we go on to the generational curses, where some people might just be serial daters because that's what their family did, but that's the curse that they need to break and sort of like stop the pattern. So there's a couple of other things in there that, I will talk about, patterns, curses and things like that. And I did talk about on some of the earlier ones. But I hope that helps, because I know that from talking to people, they didn't really understand what they were in. They thought they were in something other than what they were actually in, if that makes sense. So I thought I'd put it out there, and hopefully that'll help other people when going into these things, that you were very clear on what it is that you're actually going into, and you understand what it is. And as long as both parties understand what it is and what it isn't, then there's no pain that gets in the middle of it. Because I think, these things, and toxic relationships, and trauma bonding relationships can be quite painful when you have to separate because you're so familiar with it. Now, let me just show you these as well. So, I channeled so much stuff when I was awakening, and it's something I will do on here, because it's like it'll help you with your discernment and your intuition. But the full card, the cards that popped out, which I'd written, and I put it on the top, it says reality check. I underestimated you. I thought naive because you are sweet and kind. I didn't look closely. Spiritual strength and rank you hold. It's my karma. So these are people that obviously channeled to me. Ashamed. You always believed in me when others didn't. I regret not giving you the same support. This is obviously personal to me. And then I got understanding. I didn't consider the consequences of my actions. To take you down, I have lost everything, including my integrity. Bad karma. I think that's probably comes down to, when I was gang stalked and all this stuff that went on, crazy stuff. But I think that comes back to closing out cycles, which I'll talk about on another one. Not for me, but for other people that have obviously not done it very well. Reality check. I understand that what it means. What's done in the dark always comes to light. I've been exposed. And then this one, ashamed. I compromised myself. In doing so, I got myself in a mess, caught in a trap of illusions and lies. And then the last one, this just fell out on the kitchen floor, says, ashamed. We manipulated and deceived your community to work shifts to prey. Now it says P-R-A-Y and then in brackets P-R-E-Y. For you, manipulating prayer to create negative energy to keep you stuck. We paid them with your money that we stole, have done for years. Your family know. They've benefited too for years. Greed. what people will do for money. And I channeled that, and the date is the day is the April the 22nd, April 2022, 21, 22, all the way through. So yeah, it's not something I don't know. As I said to you at the beginning, you know, people will show you who they are, and by their behaviours tells you everything you need to know. Sometimes you don't need the words. But anyway, I think we've all been on this journey, haven't we? And I think we're all grown up enough to understand what it is and what it isn't. So, but I hope that's great. I hope that helps you. I hope it sort of gives you a little bit of food for thought in terms of the relationships and things like that. Not just from a spiritual perspective, but also from just a everyday perspective, really. Understanding what you're getting into and what you're not getting into. In terms of the cards, I would strongly recommend that when you get yourself some cards, and when you get some thoughts pop into your head, or like you start singing or humming a song, write it down. Because that's your intuition, and that's potentially one of your guides coming through, trying to give you some guidance. Oh yeah, it just cut off again as it does, because it's an old camera. But what I was saying was, if you get thoughts or a song pops in, grab yourself some cards and write it down, because it might be a message from somebody or something that you need to have a look at, and then just go and have a look at the words of the song, because it might help you, and you might resonate with it. That's what I do, and hopefully, and I said at the very beginning of this, when I started this, I want to help people with the discernment and their intuition. I'm not here to tell you, I want to help you improve yours, and hopefully, we can do that. I hope the dating stuff is helpful. And when I was reading that last card, and I got the beep, and I apologised again, I've checked again, and it was their confirmation to say yes, I was correct in what I was saying and what I channeled. So they are watching, and like I said, everything goes in your Akashic records, nothing is hidden. So that was confirmation from them to say what I channeled at that time was correct. Anyway, have a fantastic Sunday, if it's Sunday or wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. See you later. Bye.